Silver Barker exclusively interviewed Kimani's grandmother and legal guardian, and then Kimani's aunt. Here's what they both had to say.
So my first question for you, yesterday, lots of things was going on. We want to know specifically at your home, there was a lot of speculation online that you were being arrested, but when we checked with police, that was not the case. So can you further clarify on exactly what did happen yesterday at your home?
Well, I was called and told that there was a mob of people in front of my house. They were angry. It was more or less the people that were here earlier waiting to see if it was Kimani that was in the home. And basically some people from the neighborhood had contacted me and said that there was a mob in front of my house and they were talking about what they were going to do to me once I came home. So the police, the detective said that she would have a unit come out. And
that's what I'm saying too, Sherry. She a little too calm. It's like either she kind of giving me like, she more mad than anything. Like, I don't know. I don't understand the emotional response to this type of situation. Like, I will be distraught.
And help me get my things and more or less escort me off the property. I asked to be handcuffed just so they can get the away from my property.
Are you scared?
So no.
So she did not go to jail. She was not being charged with anything. She asked to be escorted in handcuffs to give the illusion that she was going to jail so that people can leave her house.
I was never arrested. I was taken downtown, but I was never arrested.
Are you scared for your safety right now?
I am.
What are some of the things that you've been hearing and receiving from people?
They said they was going to blow up my house. They said they was going to do harm to me. It's just been a barrage of the different things that they've been stating.
And now yesterday, or, let's backtrack first for a little bit. So you are the guardian of Kimani, or you were the guardian of Kimani, correct?
I am the legal guardian of Kimani.
Okay. So in terms of taking care of her, when was Kimani placed under your care?
A year ago. She's been in my home for the past 5.5 years, but I just obtained legal custody of her a year ago.
Okay, wait. So I was thinking that the grandma had custody of her for years. It was only a year ago. So you mean to tell me that mammy could have went and got her baby like snatchies and got the fuck on, and she waited until her mammy got custody of her child? What the actual fuck is going on here?
Were you and Kimani close?
We were.
What were some of the things, trying to think of her and paint a memory of her in a good light, right now with everything that's going on, what was Kimani like? Tell me a little bit about how Kimani was in the time that you got to her.
Kimani was phenomenal. Kimani was a helper. Like, she was.
Even if she was with the godmother, did the godmother have custody of her? The godmother, did she have custody of her? What she do? She just gave custody to the grandma? My thing is, if she didn't have custody and nobody had custody of her legally, she could have went and got her daughter, because that means that she still had custody. You have to go to court to get custody of a child. Say, yep, she was the legal guardian at first, the godmama, and she gave it to the grandmother. I wonder why.
She was older than what she appeared to be. Like, you know how they say somebody has an old soul? She was that. She loved older music. She loved playing video games. She loved the friends and family that she was allowed to be around. She played basketball for Spring Elementary. She was highly intelligent. So I'd like to clear up the mental issue statements. No, she was not mentally ill in any way. We had her, assessed, and they didn't feel as if anything was wrong with her mentally. So that was not an issue. But back to Kimani, She would, like, say for instance, someone would come over and they had children. They didn't have to worry about their kids because Kimani immediately embraced them and would play with them, you know, kid stuff. She was phenomenal. Like I said, she was like no other kid her age.
What school did Kimani go to?
She went to Spring Elementary.
And we were told that at that time she was doing good at school as well too, correct?
She was. She had brought her grade point average up from a 3.4 to a 3.9.
No, that makes it twitching.
You know, actually they were going to have an award ceremony for the basketball players today at 5:30, but when I divulged to them that she had passed, they've rescheduled it. She was going to receive her trophy for being, you know, on the team and stuff.
And she has a birthday that's coming up, correct?
Her birthday is Friday.
And she would have been turning 14.
She would have been 14.
Did you have any plans for her birthday?
We were going to have her a large birthday party because it would have been her first birthday where, once again, all of my children were together and could participate in the party. Her mom was supposed to come and everything. So I asked her early on, what type of party do you want? She said she wanted a basketball themed party. So that's what I bought. Things that revolved around her playing basketball. I'm still receiving stuff in the mail for that.
So there's been some confusion now in terms of when it comes to family, you know, who's her biological father, who is her biological mother, and then also was she in the foster care system? Can you clear up a little bit of all of that? You know, when Kimani was placed in your care, you know, when is the LCCS? Who exactly did she come from, and how did she?
She came from her other legal guardian. I choose not to state her name, but she came from her other legal guardian because the other legal guardian and I were best friends. The other legal guardian is my daughter, Kimani's mom, godmother. And we had already discussed when early on, because she's been with this person since she was 9 months old. My daughter has never really had custody of Kimani. So she's been with this person since she was 9 months old until, like I said, maybe 5.5 years ago. Now, off and on, this person, we would interact and, you know, do different things with her, for her, or I would contact her and tell her, well, I need this, or Kimani would like that. And she would come by and oblige, and we would commence. It's just too much.
Earlier you mentioned when you were talking about what Kimani was like, you know, you had mentioned that when family members did come over, who were allowed around her. Can you expand on that? Is there family members that weren't allowed around her?
No, it's just not very many that came around. And those that did, you know, she acted, as far as I'm concerned, she acted accordingly. She embraced all children, bad or good. Okay, next question.
So now we do know that Darnell, you know, people are looking for Darnell Jones right now. The police are looking for Darnell Jones, and there's an arrest warrant out for him. Do you have any idea of his whereabouts?
Oh, well, to my knowledge, he was just arrested in Columbus. He just recently had a shootout with the police in Columbus. They're saying that he confessed to her murder, and no, I take that back. They're saying that he confessed to her rape and slitting her throat.
How does it feel to learn that?
I can't even say.
You know,
the no tears is sending me.
Kimani was last seen with Darnell. You know, do you have any regrets of letting Kimani go with, as you're her guardian, do you have any regrets of letting Kimani go with Darnell?
I do. I do, only because, like I said, I feel deceived. I feel like this was pre-planned. I feel like you meant to do this. I feel like you was grooming her.
Duh.
When you say grooming her, is there things that you saw before this leading up?
No, there I never saw anything out the ordinary.
Why would
But
you?
when molesters decide to choose prey, they groom you first. So they give you gifts. They try and make you comfortable with them. They try and say little things to you that you and they can keep secret, and then eventually they pounce.
Okay, then. So she know exactly what a predator will do. So this confirms that she just didn't give a fuck then. If you know what a predator will do and how they would move in such a sneaky way, hidden in plain sight, she should have been side-eyeing every interaction that Kimani had with that monster. Now I can see why I've seen some comments of people saying the grandma ain't shit, she ain't this, she ain't that, and she questionable, because you're basically saying that you know what a predator will do and you did nothing about it. Why?
And that's how I feel. That what, oh God, how all of this is played out, I feel that's what happened. She was a virgin. She didn't like boys.
There's also comments, and we're just trying to address those and get those addressed. But there's comments online and speculation again that, Kimani, her home situation, she was abused. What do you have to say to that?
Okay, abuse and who's?
She's saying she was a virgin. She didn't like boys. Again, that could be the very reason why she didn't like boys or wasn't interested at all, because she was being touched by her own so-called father that you let come in the home. After your biological daughter said that wasn't a daddy, you still chose to have him come around because you said he was doing for Kimani more than the mammy. So you trusted him. And he knew that she trusted him. That's why he used it as an opportunity to exploit that situation, because he had one thing on his mind, and that was to molest Kimani. That's it. What is it going to take, like, for women to realize this?
She was chastised whenever she was wrong or did things wrong. Other than that, she was not abused. She was not just whooped for no reason or just because I felt like it.
And ain't no telling if that so-called Darnell, he could have been abusing her physically too. If he went to such a horrible extent of removing her hands, slitting her throat to the point where her head was almost removed from her body, he probably was abusing her physically as well, like whooping on her, abusing her, hitting her. Evidently, the grandma was too, because she was in question with CPS at one point, a couple of times.
I've went through this twice because the school system had contacted CSB on her behalf when she went to Bennett Academy. And they came in, they did a case study and closed it. They've stated there's a way to chastise children without physically harming them. And you need to whoop them on their behind, nowhere else. So, okay, with that in mind, I knew that.
I feel like she just kept her around for a check. She already had her daughter. She put her daughter on child support. You know, obviously you can file taxes on children. She could get extra assistance throughout the month from, food stamps and things like that. This really be a money grab for these people. And it's really fucked up because this is what I mean when I say they sacrifice these children all in the name of money and men and materialism. Go back and watch my live on that, because this rope shit, this is bed bug shit that they got going on. Now, I ain't saying nothing wrong with you getting assistance, okay? Because I get children, I make it do what I got to do for what I need. But at the end of the day, I'm not about to, be allowing any old body around my kids because I feel like, oh, they're going to help me. She was trying to get a check, period. Just like Annette.
So she didn't have like bruises all over.
How long ago was that when they came into your home?
She didn't have bruises all over, but she had enough.
I would say the latest, it was approximately 7 months ago.
And so you say the latest. So was it a few times that they came into your
It
home?
was twice total.
So twice total that they came into your home. Check. Okay. And it was all for chastity, like you mentioned, what you just said earlier.
Yes.
Explaining. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in terms of, this whole situation, so
Sydney say that's her real dad, so she wouldn't question it, and some other things. I would question it, and knowing his record, if she knew his record, well, I'm sure she did. I'm sure her daughter told her a bunch of things about him. So it was other things to consider besides, oh, that's her dad. She can still see if he's abusive to her by the way he treat her, by the way he talk to her, by the way he whoop her. He was abusive to women. So, yeah, I wouldn't care if it was her daddy and he taking the load off of me. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't care. It's about the safety of the children. If you're no good around the child, and you're more of a detriment to their mental health, then you're a problem. I have to protect and guard my child, my grandchild, from even their own so-called parent. Even if that means I have to sacrifice you taking the load off of me, I'll figure it out another way. But it's the lack of mental health concerns that a lot of these older generations, for one, lack. And then the mental health concern for just a lot of mothers and parents in general. Hire somebody else. Don't just think that you have to allow, you got custody of that child. She already said she had custody, so you have the final say. You can dictate if her own mother, who popped her out of her vajayjay, can come around her or not. You keep your daughter away from her, but you keep this monster around her. Make it make sense. I'm sure she's not as a worse monster as he is. She probably still a monster, but goddamn. If you just gonna choose between monsters, cut. If he had it his way, he probably would have cut her into pieces. Again, he got DV cases. He beat on his wife. I'm sure he put his hands on her daughter at one point when they was together. I'm sure of it. They don't change. They just change the victim. They don't change. She knew that nigga was violent. And he wouldn't have been in my house for a few fucking dollars a month. That I'm sure he wasn't giving that much. He didn't even have his own place. He was staying with his girlfriend. He got no money. He ain't got shit.
So
she wanted that nigga around.
Correct. And that's
Correct.
what, a lot of people seem to think as they saw you going out and cuss. That's what you asked for, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so my first question for you, can you tell me your relation to Dorothy?
I'm Dorothy's second oldest daughter. I'm Kimani's aunt. My name is Sanika. I live in Indianapolis. All this that is going on is devastating. You wouldn't think.
Bingo, Batman. Bingo. Like you say, we are natural detectives. We gonna find out some shit. We gonna investigate some shit. You knew. Sydney, that wasn't just for you. It's just general. You know what I mean? It was general because I feel like we have to, in general, stop making excuses. Say all I'm saying is that the grandma ain't have nothing to do with it. I ain't say the grandma did have anything to do with it. But is there something she could have did to prevent this? Yes, nothing is a coincidence. He didn't just wake up one day and decide he want to harm a child. That didn't just happen that day. That's been happening. She had CPS called on her and let her tell it she wasn't doing the harming. So who was? Who was harming Kimani? Who was beating her to the point where she had bruises on her? Rather, the grandma had something to do with her actually missing and being unalive is irrelevant. We're talking about leading up until that point. Where was her antlers at? Where was that grandma instinct at? Up Darnell's ass, apparently.
Think that, you know, you see it happen around the world, but when it hits close to your heart, you really just be thinking like, did I do something wrong? Did I fail her? She didn't have the life to live that we have got to grow and live. She was only 13. So to know that somebody that I trusted, which was her father, to come through and deceive us just to get to Kimani in some sexual way or a harmful way, that hurts me to the fullest. At the point I feel like I failed her. Me as being her aunt, a person that she could run to and tell anything and everything to. That was my girl. That was my baby. And to hear all of this, to know all of this, and to be going through all this and hearing it for as long as that it went on, it's very devastating. I see so many people that are supposed to be my family that's going against my mom and me for that instance, and saying like, oh, you know, she failed her, she had something to do with it, she had this and that. It doesn't matter at this point. For right now, and until we get justice for Kimani, it's all about Kimani. What I would like to say is there's a lot of people on the internet starting GoFundMe's, and that's not what we need right now, because it's not what Kimani needs. The funeral home has objected to say that they're going to come and pay for everything, so there's no need for any GoFundMe pages, any of that. Everything is being taken care of that needs to be taken care of by her family, her immediate family.
Does it upset you that there are GoFundMe's? Some of them, I think, in cases might be scams too, as well. That are going on.
What upsets me is that people are starting these GoFundMe pages and putting Kimani name underneath it, and they know that it's going to get viewed, and people have sympathy and feel some type of way about that. And some of them can be scams, but I know some of them have come from family members. When just let the immediate family handle that. Like, what y'all gonna do with the money if y'all not turning it into the funeral home? There's no need. Let us handle it. Y'all just sit back and give us the emotional support that we need. That's what we need right now. As a family, as a community, we should all come together and just give each other the emotional support that we honestly need. And that's just what I ask for everybody to, you know, calm down, breathe. I know this is a hard time, because it's not just a hard time for y'all. This is a rough time for me. I just need y'all to come together and understand that we need each other as a community, as a family, and emotional support is what we need the most in this situation.
You know, yesterday the crowd was, yesterday you were here, I'm assuming, you know, the crowd was very upset, lots of emotions going through too, you know, especially at this time with such a sensitive situation. You know, we've heard multiple comments out in the crowd, you know, attacking or pointing fingers at your mom. So, you know, what has it been like trying to be her support system and helping her out?
In a way, you have to be mature enough to decide, am I going to follow along with the crowd, or am I going to, you know, stick around with the loner? I'm to the point where I'm I'm not following nobody. I'm going with what's right. If it was your mother, if it was your niece, would you console your mother? Would you console your, the person that was closest to her who lived with her? I'm not out to have a torch and the pitchforks and all out to go against anybody except the person who did this, which I believe was her father, Darnell. I don't have any other anger pushed towards anybody else. I'm angry that this happened, but I'm angry at the person who did this.
Do you know if have you been in contact with Tiara, the mother?
Yeah, I've been in contact with my sister. It's been briefly. It's been over through text. Like I said, I live in Indianapolis. I seen her yesterday, but that was very brief. It wasn't even more than 5 minutes. It was more or less that she wanted to show me my other niece, Kazaria, which is Kimani's youngest sister. But it wasn't like it was oh, sis, what are we going to do? Any of that. And I don't wish this on nobody. I really don't. I could, your mind go different places when it's a baby. That was a baby. Like I said, I have a very close relationship with Kimani. She was a tomboy. She wasn't out looking for, trying to be fast or, mischievous or any of that. So for her mother to come down and have all this to say and all that, Tiara, where was you for the past 4 years? We haven't seen you since Kimani TikTok party. You haven't called her. You haven't sent her anything. You haven't said, oh, baby, I'm going to come get you for a weekend. We haven't seen you until this happened. Why we got to see you when it's a tragic moment? So, Tiara, where do you stand?
And Tiara lives in Cleveland, correct?
Yes.
And so the past 4 years, you're saying there was very little communication.
Very, very minimum. It wasn't even, she'll call my mom. She'll go through.
See, my thing is, the auntie just said that none of this matters. Like when she was referencing her mother, she basically was saying, y'all don't try to fault my mama. This is about justice for Kei'Mani. But then in the same breath, she go to throw Tiara under the bus and put information about her that we didn't really know. Obviously, we were speculating. But see, this is why we be diving deep into these cases, because they say things. Because they try to control the narrative and try to protect certain people in their family. So they want to control the perceptions of how we view them. This is why. She just said she don't want to talk about the family. Basically, that's what she was saying. We want to focus on Kimani. None of that matters. But then she said, Tiara, where was you at? Like what? Where was all of y'all at when she was getting beat? Or maybe y'all thought it was cool because your mama probably beat y'all. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why nobody said nothing when they were supposed to say something. Say they all get caught in the lie. Yeah.
To mommy. And I'm like, no, about what? And she'll say, oh, well, she got custody of Kimani and she trying to get child support from me. So it wasn't that Tiara was concerned about Kimani. It was more of the why she want child support from me.
What is the relationship between your mother and your sister Tiara?
It's very distant. They had their words. They fought. Kimani mother has a godmother that Kimani was with before my mom got her. And there was no communication then from Tiara. I feel like Tiara just let her go. Because any mother would be on her toes to get her children back. That wasn't the case here. It just wasn't.
When was Kimani?
Like, we literally wouldn't know unless they say it.
I'll say about 7-8 months. And then Tiara godmother stepped in and got custody of Kimani, which would have been around 9 months. Yeah, and Kimani had been with that lady from 9 months all the way up until about, I say, 5.5 years ago. So it wasn't like Tiara was actually in the picture, saying, hey, maybe I can start getting myself together to get my child back so nobody else can get her.
You ever worried for Kimani's safety with any of the family members or anyone?
I wouldn't say I was worried because I was here. I was here every winter break, spring break, holidays, birthdays. I was here for Kimani. Yes, you come and you enjoy time with your family, but I was here for my niece. I also brought my youngest sister and her 2 kids from Indianapolis to be here for Kimani because we've been in the system before. So I know how it feels to feel like, dang, I'm at somebody's house or not feeling not wanted. I know those feelings. So I tried to give Kimani that at all times because she.
And she just said they've been in the system before. So why were they in the system? Maybe Dorothy wasn't the best option for Kimani. Maybe Kimani should have stayed with the godmama. Maybe. Because it's like, y'all always in the system at one point, and here you is on TV still trying to protect your mom and make it seem like she was not the part of the problem like the rest of y'all.
She wanted and loved by her aunts. And this is just devastating that I have to go through this for the rest of my life and knowing I'll never have the embrace of my niece, the hey TT, what you doing? When you coming down here, I'll never get to hear that from my baby again. And that's what kills me the most. I just wish that when I was down here last that I had just taken her to Indianapolis with me. So this would never happen.
Coulda, woulda.
A lot of things, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but at the end of the day, I just really wish that whatever happened and whoever did this, y'all didn't have to do that to her. There's plenty of people out here with, grown people that put themselves out there to be, the sex workers or whatever it may be. You didn't have to do this to a child. There was nothing that Kimani would have done to make you hurt her. So she was a very timid kid, tomboyish, reserved. She wasn't, loud and out there. So it's just devastating that that me and my family have to go through this.
Is there anything else that you would like to add at this time in the interview? Anything else that maybe?
I just want people to understand that family is family. And at the end of the day, don't be so eager to go against your family. Talk to your family and talk to the children. These children may be scared to talk to the parents about things that's going on or what may be going on because they feel like they may get in trouble. But make it known that to your kids that you can talk to me. Make it very open. You can talk to me about any and everything. Because that's what these kids need to hear nowadays. Instead of going on social media and talking to somebody over social media about it, like he did this or she may done that. Talk to your family because they can handle. They're the adults. They're supposed to handle it. So yeah, and it's forever Kimani.
Well, I'll be. Said another very dysfunctional family pointing fingers.